that we have a lot of background noise going on during the webinar. So that means that if you have a question or a problem that you need to let us know about, what you're going to have to do is to type that into the chat box or the question and answer box. Those are the two boxes to the right of the point screen. Or you can raise your hand. You'll see a little hand icon just above the chat box. And when you do any of those things, we'll be able to see that you've got a question, and we can help you. I need to get my going here properly. Today's presenters are Kathleen Williams, Executive Director of the NHPRC, Dan Stokes, Director for State Programs. They're going to be kicking things off on this SHRAB Town Hall today, followed by two representatives from SHRABs, one from the Coast, one from the West Coast, and they're going to be talking about SHRAB activities. Maria Holden from the New York State Archives and Ella Cote from the California SHRAB. I want to now turn the program over to Shelley Thompson, State Archivist at the South Dakota State Historical Society and a CoSA Program Committee member. Hi, Shelley. How are you?
We're going to have to figure out which one Shelley is because her to a phone number. Oh, I'm here. Oh, no, hi. I know which number you are now, so we're all set.
Okay, hi. So welcome everybody to our webinar, and today, like Ann said, we have some great presenters, and what we're going to do is go forward with Kathleen Williams and Dan Stokes and have them talk for a little bit. I believe we're going to wait and hold the questions until the end of the webinar, if I'm correct on that. Mm-hmm. So let's go ahead and turn it over to Kathleen and Dan.
Can everyone hear me?
Yep, you're loud and clear.
Great, just I'm unmuted. This is Kathleen. I'll start off very briefly and then turn it over to Dan. I want to welcome everybody. This is one of the most important and one of the first things that we do with SHRAB Town Halls for Dan and myself. I want to just give a couple of highlights or updates for everybody to kind of cogitate on and or link to, and then turn it over to Dan for, I think he has several sort of things to just either remind you of or to let you know about. So first I want to say with SHRABs in mind, I just want to make sure everyone's aware that 2015 this year marks the 4th anniversary of the creation of the SHRABs. So that takes us to 1975 when the first SHRABs were formed. From 75 to 78, 79, we saw in effect all of the states had formed their boards, but some got on very quickly, starting 75. So we're going to be spending probably the next year or a little more than a year trying to figure out activities that are appropriate to kind of celebrate that milestone. We'd love all of your ideas. We probably, or I can promise and commit to, we will post on our blog something formally soliciting those sorts of ideas, but you don't have to wait till then. If you have ideas well before we put up an official call for them, Dan Stokes can be and will be your contact person for that. With that in mind, if you don't know anything about the NHPRC blog, which we launched several months ago now, I'll remind you that there is such a thing as an NHPRC blog. It's called Annotation, and you can find it, sorry I have this written up on the screen, but it's blogs.archives.gov /NHPRC. We post there at least once a week, saying that is from all the grants officers and myself, some idea or feature or column, often soliciting your feedback. So I'd love for you to RSS that or otherwise follow that blog, look for it, and give us your thoughts. To the general business of grad cycles, I will say we are, as always, in the midst of a cycle that just ended for the state boards in August. So Dan is assessing all of that and moving forward with what we move forward with for commission deliberations on all of those proposals at its January meeting. I'm going to turn it over to Dan and let him talk about that and anything else he wants to talk about. Dan?
Okay. Am I coming through? Actually, look like I'm muted. Now I'm unmuted. Okay. My name says I'm speaking, so I will assume I'm speaking. And the picture of me, I believe, is from my high school yearbook. That was when I had a lot more hair, so that must have been what that was from. But as Kim was talking about, we have pieces of information that we wanted to share with you. One is, as you may all know, Archives Month is nearly upon us next week, and we would like to focus on that, our Facebook page. And I already sent information from 4 or 5 states to our communications director, but I'd like to either the CoSA or if you want to email me personally with your poster, have one, or a bookmark if you have one, or activities that are taking place, direct us to where those are listed, because we would like to start focusing on Archives Month. And I believe the Communications Director wanted to start that even before Archives Month. So we've got a few from, I believe, in Kentucky and a few other states already that we've found, Nevada, but we'd like to see more. So you want to send those to me, and we can then highlight during October the different states and their activities. So I wanted to remind you of some deadlines that are coming up. Even before Archives Month, on September 30th, some of you have final reports due, and it would be really nice to see those come in close to the deadline. For you who I've recently acknowledged interim reports, I believe I sent you a reminder, but there are about 11 states that do have reports due, so if we could see those, that would be nice. Also, for you to have board reviews, to remind you that those are due at some point during the 7th of October. I believe the earliest date for some of you is the 17th, and some of you have till the 31st. But the email that I sent you, that gives you the date. Those of you who had only one have a slightly earlier deadline than those of you who had 2 or more. There are now there's a peer review of the state board applications. You're receiving what's called a questions letter. Some of you may have seen these before if you applied through other programs, in which reviewer comments and my own questions and any other staff questions that may come up are due for your response and clarification. Those will likely go out in November sometime, and you should have a 3-week or so turnaround for getting a response in. This will be presented to the Commission, which meets January 30th to make its actual decision. So it will be early February when you learn what the decision of this will be based on the recommendations of the Commission. And here, issue date was in August for these applications. Next year, we intend to get back to our regular cycle of deadlines. So next year, actually, the deadline for the programming grants will be in early June. We'll move back to our June-October deadline. So that's under date. You'll have a couple of months less time between application dates. Those will be June deadline with probably a November Commission meeting in 15. Being back to the January 1st of 2016 start dates, which sounds a long way off, but I guess really isn't. The current applications for state board programming grants, we received 20 applications, raising $1,025,000 approximately. As you may remember from the grant announcement, we've figured somewhere up to $700,000. So obviously we'll have to find ways to funding to the activities being proposed. And once again, because there is a review panel, they'll help us determine how to distribute the available funding. Anything new, we've had larger than the grant funds available for several years. So slightly different way of determining how the funds will be distributed, because we'll have a review panel to help us with that determination. Now, webinar is kind of about how boards can function as useful resources for institutions. Based on some of the information that I heard from people at the annual meeting, had thoughts on areas that the SHRABs a more useful resource. One issue that came up, not as past, so we are making some progress, is making sure that repositories, archival repositories in your state, know that you actually exist. We have sometimes rather large institutions that know that their state board will have to review their proposal. They say, what's a state board? They have no idea that it's even out there. And you kind of understand that with smaller institutions, or that maybe in a remote part of your state, when some of your major repositories have that you exist. I think we need to work a little more on word out about that. That way they can also take advantage of the services you can provide to discuss ideas, read proposals, and help spread the word to their colleagues about the existence of the board and what it can do. Also focusing on assistance to all types and sizes of institutions. Lots of board activities are towards smaller repositories that really don't have other sources of funding or assistance or training, but we do want boards to also think about what assistance they can provide to their major institutions in their state. And that may be mainly referring them to us to let people know there is funding available through either the Access Program or the Digital Dissemination Program, because we do want to spread the grant funds around the country as much as possible. And in recent years, it's kind of been piling up in a few states. So we do want to make sure that everybody is getting the opportunity to apply to us. Or you can also help us find out why people aren't applying to us, and why that might be a difficult thing to do. We've done this with university archivists to find out from that type of institution may not be applying as much. And we'd like to find out from other institutions as well so we can spread this funding around. So publicizing your activities and resources to get a broad impact. Often in final reports, great projects that are taking place, but I don't see where on your websites or doing a search of any kind, I'm not finding anything about them. So I think publishing these more, and once again, let us know that, sure how an effective way to do that, we can help with that as well. Because we want to get information about these projects out to both people in your state and then to other states who might benefit from having these available. I know with the internet, obviously, there are state boundaries. Anybody can see these things. So to get them available in one place will help spread it. Letting the NHPRC know what we can help you. This can mean, for many of you, participating in your meetings, which after I told you I was available to meet with state boards at the annual meeting, I've since had conference calls with 3 states, 2 states in a territory, and that's all in the space of about a week and a half. So I'm available to help with whatever might be necessary, either helping acclimate new people or sharing state with boards any priorities or anything that you think might work with your state that might help them along. Also looking at setting up some activities at some regional meetings. This is especially useful this coming year because MERAC and NA will be having a joint meeting, and there'll be the Western Roundup, this meeting of about 3 regionals, and then the California archivists. And also looking at the Southwest Archivist, since that covers a lot of territory all on its own. And I think the same with MAC, it covers a lot of space all on its own. So to help set up events where not only coordinators can help get together, but even board members from various states can get together and who are into that event anyway, so that it's not like it takes a whole lot of additional resources to get people there. So I'll look for information about that as the new year approaches. And another area that I think some people expressed great benefits from increasing collaboration with other entities within their states. This for a lot of folks who are doing the disaster preparedness work. They meet with their, whatever the state FEMA affiliate is, they have different names, or getting there with city clerks, county clerks, municipal clerks, whatever they may be, or state museum folks. They're finding that collaborating helps get the word out because they're meeting with a whole new group of professionals. And I know some boards have booths or tables at related meetings where they can get the word out about the board's activities to teacher organizations, just all kinds of different groups, minimum amount of input. If they have a state member who happens to be in the city or near the city where that state meeting is held, they can get the meeting and help spread the word about what the board is doing and audiences, and help spread the word. So those are some of the thoughts about that I think relate to actual situations that I heard about at the meeting to help boards useful resources, not specific resources, but how to get the resources you do produce out there and more available to people, so they'll know that you are around and there to help you. That's all I have to say at the time.
Welcome, Maria. Maria directs archival services at the New York State Archives, where she manages preservation of and access to the archival records of state government. She also coordinates technical assistance and project support to New York's historical records community. On behalf of the New York State Historical Records Advisory Board, she has led several NHPRC projects on the development of tools to assist New York's repositories. Maria participates in the development of CoSA's emergency preparedness initiatives, including the FEMA CoSA Intergovernmental Preparedness for Essential Records webinar curriculum. Welcome, Maria.
I'm here. Me?
Hi,
everyone. Okay, good. Thanks for having me. For the past decade, electronic records have been a priority and consistent focus of New York's SHRAB. I want to talk about our SHRAB's engagement with electronic records and how this relationship came to be. So,
click here. Yep, just click in the slide window and then hit the arrow button. It should.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Making accessible electronic records has been a New York State Archives priority since the 80s. We've had resources into training and advisory services to state agencies and local governments, the creation, care, and disposition of electronic records, and managed the archival electronic records at State Archives holdings. But what of the non-government archival community in New York, the museums, libraries, historical societies, and colleges and universities that create or accession archival electronic records? This is where our SHRAB comes in as an advocate for the historical records community statewide, in the smaller organizations, so that they have access to comparable services and assistance. This community needed help getting started managing their electronic records. SHRAB saw that. Collaboration is our SHRAB's first guiding principle. It meant that they would seek resources and focus them on building e-records capacity in a collaborative way. This area is much about how to deliver help as help itself. Since New York has undertaken 2 NHPRC SNAP collaborative grant projects to support electronic records preservation efforts statewide. These for colleges and universities. I had insight into the archives records management scene on campuses and saw a need there. The increasing quantity of digital materials in college and university archives and the dizzying array of electronic holdings. There were digital records like student records, which in New York are only being produced electronically now. Digitized materials like images, catalogs, which are no longer produced in print, most places, websites, and the list goes on and on. Campuses present organizational challenges and opportunities. Silos of records activity operate independently and without integration. And most campuses lack a planning model for the care of electronic records. Project produced a curriculum for electronic records training incorporating current standards and best practices. We delivered 4 in-person workshops to 50 participants throughout the state, plus train the trainer session. Work attendees learned practical skills to take back to their institution and apply. We put online an 8-module recorded webinar of the workshop as well as the PowerPoint slides. SHRAB played a very important role in this project. Our members served on an advisory committee and participated in the review and discussion of all products. We also had advisors from additional universities besides the ones represented by SHRAB members. Represented were the University at Albany, SUNY Potsdam, Cornell, and Marist. The development of the workshop was done by a consultant, Steve Goodfellow, who reported to a SHRAB New York State Archives project team. This is truly a collaboration of SHRAB, State Archives, consultant, and members of our advisory committee. Another important partner was the New York Archives Conference, New York's professional archival organization, which is the point of featuring this project and project follow-up at their annual meetings, sort of continuing the conversation and sustaining the effort. Our homepage, where the webinar and slides are nested, got 10,000 hits in the past year. The most popular file on the site with 4,000 hits is presentation slides. The key detail that the training slides are the second most popular item on the site, second to the homepage. In 2010, SHRAB launched guidance for 9/11 families to deal with their collections. This website that helps with the hard decisions of what things to keep, what to discard, and it shows families how to preserve their collections for generations. This because it contains great advice, including a video about caring for your personal electronic records. We've done this without our SHRAB support. On our first SNAP project, we did a follow-up. We did something with the first project. People liked what they saw, but they wanted more. They wanted practical tools for developing e-records plans in their own institutions. It's our second electronic records-related SNAP project. It's a partnership with SUNY Plattsburgh. Why SUNY? Well, at an opportune time in 2012. It was around the 60th anniversary of SUNY, of the system, and the year their new general schedule was issued. Our SHRAB saw an opportunity to create model planning tools that would work on the 61 campuses in the system. These tools are customized for the SUNY system, but adaptable far beyond that system and even New York. The project as a whole will serve as a guide for developing electronic records programs in state university systems nationwide. Plattsburgh, well, it's a middle-sized college in the system. There are 6,300 undergraduates and graduate students, typical of the SUNY colleges in terms of size, and they have an amazing staff with 2 individuals there working with us closely on this project. The full-time records manager, whose name is Gina Doty, and Deborah Kimmock, who's the Special Collections Librarian who's responsible for the archives, which is located in Special Collections. These two women are professionally active, incredibly committed and energetic, and we're really lucky to be working with them on this project. And Plattsburgh happens to be the home of the premier Rockwell Kent collection and his archives. Rockwell Kent was a 20th century New York artist of Edward Hopper and George Bellows, and his records are in the archives, and some of them have been digitized, so they'll be part of this project. They're developing 6 model documents editable throughout the SUNY system and beyond. First, there are inventory tools, both series and system-level tools. Then the technology scan. This is designed to assess the financial, technological, and staffing resources dedicated to managing information technology. The electronic record storage criteria. These are recommended guidelines for systems used to store and preserve electronic records. Best practices in archives. We've relied heavily on SIRI resources for this. Fourth is the needs assessment. This is the part of the set of tools that analyzes the inventory data, as well as the results of the technology scan and recommends solutions. The model basically guides the planning process. And finally, the plan is a 3 to 5 year actionable plan specific to individual SUNY campuses. This implements the recommendations from the needs assessment and lays out the timetable, responsibility, and resources for completing the development of the electronic records program. The series inventory form. This gathers information about archival electronic records at Plattsburgh and beyond. This was developed in Microsoft Access. It's a database. You can see some of the inventory fields. This is related to the system inventory, which gathers the information about the systems used to manage electronic records. As by 2014, Deborah and Gina, with our project archivist, have inventoried 31 electronic record series, 10 electronic record-keeping systems, and met with 71 offices across campus about their electronic records holdings. These meetings have been really informative. Gina and Deborah have learned that the offices use a wide variety of systems for backing up records. Some have no backups. The number of archival electronic records on campus is enormous. Is our secret weapon. What gives these projects their edge? Well, I chose to address a single challenge with consistency and persistence to build capacity progressively in a single area. There's a cumulative effect. These depend on partnership and collaboration to achieve goals. We're in a solid and balanced partnership with Plattsburgh. We've collaborated effectively with the New York Archives Conference to disseminate and sustain results. We've looked for opportunities to leverage resources, like training the trainers to spread the message beyond the project parameters. Plattsburgh is accomplishing a lot more than testing planning tools. Think of the relationships forming through the 71 meetings. SHRAB designed these projects so methods and results can be replicated elsewhere, like the 60 other SUNY campuses or state university systems in other states. Make all the projects or products available on the SHRAB website as well. Finally, there's the challenge of sustaining these efforts. The New Archives Conference programming and reunions of participants has been really helpful, but I think SHRABs can be an agent of sustainability, keeping their eye on the needs of the archival community, bring their unique perspective to finding solutions, and help bring the necessary resources to bear. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'd like to welcome Alana Cody from California. is a subject matter expert with 19 years in information governance and libraries and has extensive knowledge of privacy, data breaches, technology, and records-related issues. She is a subject matter expert in multi-million-dollar electronic document management system implementations for clients in government, software, biotech, manufacturing, energy, oil and gas, and nonprofit sectors. Along with an independent information government consultant, also a certified records manager, certified project manager, certified document and image architect, and had Masters of Library Science and Masters of Information Management from Syracuse University. Currently is a director for the California Historical Records Advisory Board, advisory committee member for the Institute of Information Management Africa, and a teaching fellow at the University of Dundee in Scotland. Thanks for joining us, Alana.
Thank you much for having me here. It's really an honor to speak on behalf of the SHRAB and be with all of you. As you know, I'm not an archivist, and that was one of the things when I talked about speaking today that I brought up, and everyone said, well, this actually really goes to topic, because rethinking resources and really utilizing the SHRAB board, I think, has been something that has been extremely beneficial to us. But today we're going to talk a little bit about our SHRAB structure, why it works, some of the NHPRC grants, methodologies, and then, of course, our SNAP grants that we've done and why they're effective. So as you can see here, we obviously have our 13 members, which most of you have here, and we meet. But California being such a big state, we try to meet at least twice a year in person, and we do one in the north and one in the south. But from the membership that's here, and I think that this is a fact that is because of the diversity of the SHRAB board, and it's a fact that we talk to librarians, we talk to each other, and that has been a really big focus, is trying to bring together people outside of just the archives profession, so involving the librarians, involving the records managers, involving some of the technology people, has proven to be really effective. So that's why I really try to focus on just going beyond traditional archives today. And our success is because of how we have the board structured. What we do is when we have these meetings, we talk about this, we talk about our institutions, and then we take our learnings back within. So just, learning so much over the years has been tremendously beneficial. One of the things that I did want to mention today was, because this is such a huge impact on our state, was that the California Archives and Records were reunited for the first time in 50 years. So I'm not sure how many of your states have records and archives being separated, but finally the state realized that to utilize things and make them more effective, they brought together these two groups, and it's tremendously beneficial, especially when deciding what to accession into the archives, rather than just in the past of having disposed of them or just move them elsewhere. Now, the NHPRC grants too, and this is what we spend most of our time on, but I wanted to give you a little bit of an overview of how many we receive, and because I think that this is such an important part of what we do. So each time we do receive about 2 to 8 grants. It depends. I mean, they come from everywhere. Some come from city clerks. One time we had an artist that wanted their collection digitized, which we thought was extremely interesting. But we find that a lot of the large academic institutions tend to continuously apply. But what we did find is that people are taking our advice a lot more. And we had it was a large project. It was 165,000 images. And initially when they brought this to us, there was 1,000 reels of film and other types of docking on boxes places. But after the third session, we finally improved it. So I think that people are getting our point as well, which is tremendously useful, because we do feel that that certainly is a better use of resources. SNAP grants, though, this is, again, we're really proud of our SNAP grants in the state. We thought that that the quality and the output has been tremendous, and of tremendous value to people certainly within California. But what we do is, when we look at the SNAP grants, we do spend quite a bit of time in evaluating what we need here. And you can see that it's general education, but it's not just to archivists. It's how many people with any information profession. would really benefit from having this type of knowledge. So we look at what's out there. Is there, do we need to supplement resources? Because sometimes some of these books are tremendously expensive, or the courses and conferences, a lot of people can't afford to attend them. So we look for that. We look for any gaps in the profession and knowledge. Should there be something created that's more detailed? We ask the vendors to create templates and tools that can certainly help people attending the session to succeed. And then, of course, we try to find the most qualified people possible. So it's something that we found is that even though that there isn't a lot of money, usually that there's about $15,000, we find that the people that are applying be part of these SNAP grant developments, they think that it's very prestigious, and they will complete the project for the limited amount of funds available. So we ask them then to highlight challenges and solutions at the same time. There is in-person training, at least one workshop in person, hopefully more than one. And then sometimes there are online supplements to some of these programs as well. But the facilitators are there. And then, of course, we certainly try to promote the State Archives and NHPRC as much as we can. And the developments and the requirements, this is a little bit about the methodology that we do when we look at that. And as you can see here, we have our bid process, we go through that, we evaluate. But what I think has made our SHRAB extremely successful with these grants is because there's so much interaction between the applicant applying to be the vendor and our comments. So we will certainly go back and forth and say, okay, what can we create? Can you give us some more insight on this? I think you're missing this portion in the proposal, and then we certainly read the work products that we do. I think that the commentary and the quality, because again you saw the diversity of the book, you really have a very robust material that is created. So it's again, every time that there's something that's put out, it's extremely high quality work product. But one of the things that we are very focused on is that we look at feedback from attendees. We always try to consider that. Sometimes if the material is a little too difficult, we will certainly say, okay, let's see what we do for the next time. And then, of course, for vendors, what we've decided to do is we allow them to reuse their material. So we've had consultants that have actually applied, and they have reused a lot of this in their consulting world. So funding is just enough to get them by, but then they take that material on other projects later on. So the big ones that we did, it was similar to what you heard for the New York Archives. It was about digitizing records, because that is such an important topic, and no one really knows how if you don't do that regularly. It's something that can be quite a challenge to an organization that hasn't really had a lot of experience with it, or have newer members that may not have had the exposure to these various systems and processes. But the course was phenomenal, and what we found, what we liked and did incorporate, was that we wanted to have it standards-based, because sure, you have your ISO requirements, but at the same time, there's practical solutions, because if you just followed standards, they can read those. It would never get done properly, because there's obviously things that happen in projects and real on-site experience that makes this useful. So that's why we were so excited when we had these two very prestigious consultants from a good consulting firm come in and develop the program for us. There were several in-person workshops. I believe about 2 were held, and attended by about 30 some odd people, which really very, very pleased by that. And then, of course, the attendees, they came from various groups, the records, city clerks, the archivists, and just the opening to that. But we now have it's about 2 to 8 paths with various modules that are developed. So it's something that is an excellent resource. It's certainly there for the future. That also brings us to where we can certainly improve, is because we're material right now. I don't think it's online. We would like to do CBTs, so the computer-based training, where some of these vendors record over the material, but we just haven't had the time and the budgets yet. And one of the other things that we would really like to do is potentially share with the other SHRABs and try to disseminate this material more so that we know it's out there. And that's where I think we've had issues. But here you can see this is certainly where there are, these are just samples from even the first packet. You can see the high quality that was absolutely produced by these consultants. And we are just, again, we're just so thrilled and so proud of the output that was put there. What we're currently working on now is we're working on a SNAP grant for archives and digital repository management. And I capitalize management because it's not just okay, use this type of DPI, buy a flatbed scanner, and so forth. It is the actual people management. And we found that there's a gap, and especially in libraries, archives, records. A lot of times organizations haven't given their staff the ability to succeed. They haven't really sent them to various training programs. So something that we have realized is what they need. People need practical business skills. They need to know how to do leadership and strategic capacity, change management, project management. So we're very, very excited about this. We have an extremely well-qualified consultant that will be working on this project for the next year. So it's certainly something that would share and be able to have these results online and available to as many people as possible. So that's really where we are now. I did want to share with you the picture of our archives once over here. It's a fixed in a child at the base of Sequoia from our Northern California National Park. So it's just something that a great picture I thought you would enjoy. But if you have any questions, this is certainly my contact information here. I mean, please don't hesitate to reach out if you have questions, comments, and of course, collaboration. That's what I think we would like to really see more of, and we're certainly interested in learning what the other SHRABs do, how they're using that material. Can we collaborate? Can we share? And can we post that to really bring together the material that's out there and maybe work together on some new material for the coming years as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I would like to thank Kathleen, Dan, and Maria, and Alana for presenting today. And I think now we're ready to open it up for questions. If anybody has a question, I think probably type them into the chat feature. Is that right, Becky? Is that how we want?
You can type your questions into chat or the Q&A. So that's great. If you have a question you'd like to ask verbally, just raise your hand and I will unmute you.
Give everybody a chance to type if they're going to. Okay. I don't know you, Becky. I'm not...
Yes, hold on just one second. Somebody just raised their hand.
Okay.
See if I can. Go ahead, Chris.
Okay.
Yep, for you.
Okay, I had a question about with the new NHPRC guidelines. They had a focus on digital literacy, and I was wondering if SHRAB individually or collectively had any plans for kind of putting out a digital literacy campaign.
Who should address that one? Would that be you, Dan, or?
Well, that would likely be any state coordinators who are that type of work. There is from any of the states they plan to apply for that type of activity. That's something, I mean, obviously one of the 3 priority areas we have.
And muted, this is Kathleen.
Hi.
Hi. I just to chime in behind Dan and say, you know, that can be a whole host of activities the SHRAB board or boards can engage in. I think we had in mind things like to the public sorts of workshops, like personal digital archiving works, for example. The Library of Congress, in particular, has built a very robust, I think, curriculum for that. So our thought here, anyway, was that that wouldn't require a reinvention of the wheel. It would require a SHRAB to think about how to the logistics of offering something similar to that to their publics, locally based individuals. Beside that, we had thoughts about education and schoolroom work, everything from National History Day activities, using obviously price sources as the impetus behind all that. Whether this is resonating with the state boards and their plans or future plans, I'm not real sure yet. I haven't gone through the applications. Hopefully Dan has done a preliminary review so far. So of a coordinated national effort, it could be something for state coordinators to start talk about.
Had a few states that are continuing their National History Day projects or changing them around a little bit. Other projects we put in the grant announcement about digital and citizen engagement were, obviously Arts Month programming that will involve citizens and not just archival repositories or students, and things like what North Carolina's already done, which is the factory archives curriculum that they have available. So there are states working in that area, but I'm not sure, and I'd have to hear from the coordinators themselves about if there's any kind of or other type of cooperation they're looking forward to.
Thanks. Do we have any questions?
In the chat from Susan, one both to Alana and Maria.
I don't know that function. Oh,
Alana?
Yes. Okay.
Do you want me to read it to you? This is more.
Okay, so for me, so the question is from Susan Lugo. Do you feel that 3 times a year to meet is sufficient? I think that this is what I personally feel, is that the meetings are fine in person, right? But I think that what needs to happen is that there needs to be more conference calls and follow-up to address the issues as they arise. And of course, we certainly email each other back, but we have certainly started doing these little mini conference calls throughout the year that I think has been a lot more effective to answer a lot of these questions.
And this is Maria. My question is, can you describe what role, if any, your state CIO may have played in your e-records project? The state CIO did not play an active role in the projects that I described, but there is a relationship between the state archives and the office that the CIO is based in, and reading electronic records policy, New York.
And Alana. Any other questions? If not, I turn it over to Mary. Oh, there's one just came in, Alana.
Hello. Yep. Okay. So the question is do the conference calls pose any challenges in terms of open meeting law requirements? Well, I think that what we have done too, we have released the minutes. So I think that as long as we continue to release our minutes, I believe that we're fine. I mean, I certainly have to check that with with the state archives. But otherwise, I think that it's just like any other meeting. What you have to realize is that with technology these days, and obviously being a consultant, we don't have to go on site as much anymore. So much of our work is remote, but it's really no different than saying, oh, we'll just have a conference call. So, I mean, certainly as long as I think that you're open and transparent and post those results to the website as you would with your normal in-person meetings, I really haven't seen any challenges otherwise.
Thank you. All right, now over to Mary.
Okay, that sounds good. There are several upcoming events to keep in mind as we move further into the fall season. The Best Prices Exchange will be taking place November 19th through the 21st in Montgomery, Alabama. The proposal deadline was extended to September 30th, so you still have time to get proposals in. Electronic Records Day will be taking place October 10th, 2014, and CoSA wants to know how will you promote it. For more information or ideas, visit CoSA's website and click on the link for the Electronic Records Day page. And finally, Series Advanced Electronic Records Institute is coming up October 20th through the 24th, and that will be held in Salt Lake City, Utah. There are full of webinars left in 2014. This one will be held Tuesday, October 14th. It's a series webinar, and its topic is Electronic Records Ingest. The CoSA Member Webinar for the year will be held Thursday, October 30th, and it will be focused on ALA, SAA, AM Joint Committee on Archives, Libraries, and Museums. There's a webinar Wednesday, November 5th, how state archives are impacted by state IT storage requirements. And the webinar for the year will be held Tuesday, December 9th. It is a series webinar, and its topic is archiving. The Resource Center is up and running. We are adding content and resources to it weekly. The PERT portal is live and accessible through the Resource Center, as is IPER self-directed training modules, course materials, and handouts. There will be to come, so keep checking in with the Resource Center as the weeks go by. CoSA's corporate partnerships provide critical funding support for CoSA membership activities and events. We are especially grateful to Ancestry.com and our other corporate sponsors, Family Search, Gaylord, Hunter Metal Edge, the Media Reserve, History, and Zervica. Support for CoSA's program initiatives is also generously provided by grants from NHPRC and MLS. Connected and informed with what CoSA is doing by visiting our website and Resource Center, subscribing to the CoSA blog, and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and our CoSA and CIRI Facebook pages. And we really do appreciate your feedback. When you visit the webinar today, you will automatically be taken to an online webinar evaluation. Please take a couple minutes to answer the questions. Your responses really help us plan future webinars. This concludes today's webinar. Thank you for attending, and enjoy the rest of your day.